All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the Black Experience. How is everyone doing? How are y'all doing? For those of you guys that are just now getting into spring break or already in spring break, I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys are having a restful spring break. I hope everyone is doing well, taking care of each other as, you know, the spring season rings in and summer season rings in. It's my favorite season. But anyways, y'all, we have another banger for y'all on the Black Experience. And today's going to be a little bit different than usual. But today we have a panel. And we will be talking to two other guests, Shantell and Jessica. And we'll be talking about dating in Bellingham as a single mom. But more specifically, dating in Bellingham as a Black single mom. So without further ado, let's put our hands together and let's bring up Shantell and Jessica. How y'all doing?
It's nice. Lovely to be here.
How's the day been so far? Because I know it's been kind of gloomy kind of day here in Bellingham. So.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it just seems like there's a lot of traffic. I don't know if maybe people from Canada are experiencing their spring break or something at the same time, but it seemed like a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of traffic on the road, a lot of construction work happening on the road, so you have to go here, take this road, so just a lot of busyness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always wonder when I first stepped foot to Western, I kind of felt like a cloud of kind of depression, kind of everyone's kind of just kind of sad, and I'm like, why is that? And I was like, oh, it's probably the weather. The weather's not. If it was always sunshine, I'm sure it'd be a little bit better,
It would be. I call it the seasonal depression, right? That's what they call it,
yeah.
The seasonal. So some people have that, but.
The good thing is it's a little bit warmer. I will say that. Yeah. Even though it's raining, the temperature is...
A little bit more humid, right?
Yeah. And I can deal with that,
All right, beautiful. So, how about, Shantell, if you want to kind of start first a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background a little bit, and what the journey coming up here to Bellingham looked like for you.
Yeah, so I was born in the South, Jacksonville, Florida, to be exact. My dad was a Navy a sailor, and he met my mom there. And so I have lived the past 30-plus years in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I made the decision to move to Bellingham in 2021. And it was a decision I made during the pandemic. I just wanted to change. I felt suffocated where I was at. Background on my family. Of course, I grew up in dysfunction. My dad was a serial cheater. I found situations where maybe I was 6 years old and there's a woman knocking on the door saying she's pregnant for my father. It wasn't true that I know of. He doesn't have any other children outside of me and my brother. But growing up and witnessing the dysfunction between him and my mom really shaped my whole thought process on relationships. And growing up that way, I could see, looking back and where I'm at now, why I wouldn't have been able to identify a healthy relationship. And so it was challenging to that regard. And then also having religious programming growing up, sex is a sin, your body is a sin, all of those things kind of coalesced into the choices and the things and where I'm at now. We'll talk about that more, but it really, really shaped the way I view relationships, sex, and men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And because family can have a big impact on a whole lot of things. They can, because they set that foundation, right?
Mm-hmm. They do, and I don't know growing up of any healthy relationships that I could witness. There was so much dysfunction and chaos around me that it's a wonder that I'm still in my right mind and, have living a stable life at the moment. But my heart breaks for the young girl that I was growing up and witnessing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Jessica?
So I moved to Bellingham, 12 years ago with me and my children. And I just wanted to do something different. And I was born and raised in Texas. in like the Central Texas part, and I do miss home because of the sunshine, and yeah, I'm just I really love Bellingham because Bellingham is like beautiful in its ways. That's why I love Bellingham and nature and able to explore that in different ways. But yeah, I was raised in a single parent household, and but my daddy was actively involved in our lives and things like that. So yeah, a little bit about me.
And that is a blessing, right? When you have both parents that are active. Like I was blessed with I'm from Eritrea. I was telling you guys a little bit about that, and family it means a lot in Eritrean culture, and especially like I was blessed to have a dad that was really strict on school specifically. But now looking back, I'm like, I'm actually glad he was strict on that because it's keeping me on my toes, with my study. So, but a little fun question before we get into that. Do y'all have any favorite food or drink spots in Bellingham that y'all have explored?
Okay, so we probably have to think about like if it's like dinner or just a cocktail happy hour. So we went to Bar Chakoti, I think that's how you say it, the other night, and we really liked it, right? For a happy hour pasta. I think it's the same owner as Storia Cucina in the downtown Bellingham area. Okay. So we liked that restaurant. It was pretty cute.
Be on the next to the pier, where is it?
Keenan's on the pier.
On the pier,
yeah. At the Chrysalis.
Is that seafood?
Yeah, they have seafood there too sometimes. Yeah, but it's pretty because you can see the view of the water while you're eating, or you can sit on the So I love going there for breakfast. I love going there for dinner because I can have a candlelight dinner with myself or whoever else would be
just
involved.
overlooking the bay.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It reminds me of Heartfire. Anthony's Heartfire.
It's like. It's in the area, yeah.
But better view. I'm assuming?
Better view. Yes, better view, like the patio, everything.
Yeah,
is nice, and it's connected to the hotel.
Yeah, and they have where you can sit on the patio, where they have the heaters on, and you have a blanket if you need that.
Yeah. They provide you a blanket and everything.
Yeah.
What's this place called again?
Keenan's on the pier.
Yeah.
My friend, she took me there, and it sold me on Bellingham. It was a beautiful, gorgeous day. It was sunny, and we sat on the patio, and I was like, man, this is heaven. Like, I don't have any of this in Texas.
I know.
This is like a 5-star type of restaurant. Then it's got to be 5-star. I mean,
I would say.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think so.
I can't imagine someone having a bad experience with when the waitress is coming with food in one hand and then a blanket in the other hand, something like that.
Well, you get the blanket before you get the food. So
so you're already warm.
Yeah, you're trying to warm. Yeah.
Do they feed you as well too? I'm joking.
You say good. But it's nice. You should try it.
Yes.
Wow. No, it's on my bucket list now. For sure. And the funny thing is, this is my senior year here at Western.
Okay.
And I've been here 4 years, and for the first time ever, I tried jalapenos.
Oh.
Okay.
And some of my friends that went with me, they were like, they just couldn't believe it. They were like, "What you been doing all these 4 years?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't know. I'm from Texas, and so jalapenos was okay, but I could see why they like it.
Is better Mexican food in Texas? Is that what you're?
Oh, authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then Texas is on my radar too. Let's kind of pivot back to kind of the topic of being a single mom. So, what does being a single mom mean to y'all, first of all? And what are some things maybe that, you guys wish that maybe people, like everything has a stereotype to it associated or a stigma with it. It's like, oh, you're black, you must like hip hop, or you're white, you must listen to this music or this. What does being a single mom mean to both y'all?
Wow. I think it means that you will continue to grow as a parent, right? There's no manual to teach you how to be a parent, even if you come from a two-parent household, or you know, you have a husband or you have a wife, whatever. There's no manual to actually tell you how to be an effective parent. I can say that as a single parent, my kids teach me how to be a parent. I learn from them. Because there might be some patterns or some behaviors that I feel like, you know, it's a natural response, and it may, you know, cause harm, or it might cause them to question something, you know, or not even harm, but just make them feel like, you know, I'm kind of making them feel like not seeing themselves, or, you know, something like that. So I have to check myself. So I had to learn how to check myself and check my parenting. But also it's about being able to be resilient, and to learn how to like make adjustments on a dime. That's what I have learned. You know, when the kids get sick and they call you, they be like, "Hey, you need to come get your baby." You're like, "Okay, I'm in middle of class, and you want me to come get my child." Okay, here I come. You know, and then I have to tell my professor, "Oh, you know, I gotta go because I gotta get my baby." You know, and it's like, "Okay, well, you know, you're a single mom," you know, and I appreciate professors that were like that, you know, but it's like, it's a whole nother level of things, right? Because you have a responsibility, and you the one that is responsible for that child, you know, good or bad, right? So I think there's that big element of, well, you have to be this individual's like all be all. If they get sick, if they do this, you got it. It's just so much. But I would say, for me, I just have learned how to just do it and not think about it.
And kind of just like that perseverance of just like, it is what it is. I've gone through this so much. Let's just get it done.
And then also, with that being said, that can be a negative piece too, right? Because I find myself at times grieving, right? And I'm like, what am I grieving about? Yes, of course, I, experienced, loss in the past, but then I start reflecting on the loss that I did have, right? Like the loss of being able to go do certain things with like my friends, or just being able to do the things that I enjoy doing, but I can't because I had to attend to my kids, right? So I have a moment of where my, my survivor mode is not in place anymore. So now I can breathe, and now I can see, I can feel, I can be, be myself. And it's so refreshing, but also it's so sad. It's like a combination of both, right?
Right.
But I think that's part of life. It's about you healing, and you're accepting, and you're kind of taking in all of those emotional ways of being, and put them in a place of like, okay, well, this is a new journey in my life. Because as your kids get older, there's a different stage of parenting that happens. So I'm learning that as well, just given that I do have like an adult son that's like 22, right? So it's like, oh, okay, he talks about these things, and we able to communicate, and we have a very close bond. And I can say that about my kids. Like, we have a real strong bond with each other.
Wow.
And I really appreciate that with us. Yeah. So sorry I took so much.
No. It's beautiful listening to you. I relate to that as well, about the grief and loss, because I think in society there's so much pressure on women in general, and then especially being a Black woman, you're supposed to uphold that strong stereotype. Like, growing up, the women in my family were very strong. They didn't show any vulnerability, and so initially as a parent, when I took on that role, I wanted to be superhero for my daughter, right? Like, I didn't want her to see me cry. I didn't want her to see me struggle in any way. But now that I'm older and having been through therapy for my own childhood traumas and things, being a parent is being human. So now I'm not afraid to be vulnerable with my daughter. Like, if I get something wrong and she challenges me about something, that's okay. I'm a human being. I'm going to mess up. And I want her to see that vulnerability in me, because I don't want her to grow up thinking she has to carry the world on her back, right?
Wow.
And I don't want her to grow up and thinking that she's less than because she doesn't have the male counterpart, or whoever she chooses to partner with living in the house with her, being with her, because in the Black community, I will say that a lot of times the fault is put on the woman if your relationship didn't work out. There's something wrong with you. And in my situation, it was a choice that I made because I didn't want to live functionally in a depressive state. Like my mental health, my physical body, everything within me was rejecting this entire whole delusion or fantasy of Black love. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or come against anything, but that was all I was preached growing up. Like what we watched on TV, all those things. Yeah. And so that is the idea that was in my mind. Right. And then when the reality didn't live up to it, I broke. I fell apart.
Yeah. So Shantell, you made the decision to get away from something that was just mentally going like in disarray for you, pretty much.
Pretty much. I could see myself because, you know, in the United States, they talk about healthcare disparities, you know, African-American women, like our maternal mortality rates, all other chronic diseases, breast cancer, like we have high rates of death, you know, compared to other races. And I think it's because we hold a lot of things internally. And I had decided that I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose life. Like if I stay in this situation trying to uphold this false illusion, I'm going to kill myself slowly. And I just had to make the decision to, you know, I would do bad on my own. Yeah.
Jessica, did you make, in your situation too, was it a decision that you had to make too like that, or what was your situation like?
It was more of that, right? Like it was more of me, you know, and I have to think about like when my kids can, you know, enter into my life, like when I had my babies, right? Like I was young, right? So I did like things that didn't, you know, like was very like confrontational, and I felt like I had to talk this way, I have to be like this, be like that. But now like in my life, I'm like, oh, well, I could have, you know, stopped and been like, hey, this is hurting me. Instead of me talking, you know, at them, I should have been talking to them, right? And letting them know how I was feeling and what I needed. But I didn't know how to say those things like, this is what I need, this is what I'm feeling, this is how all these things is making me feel, you know, this way or whatever, right? Because a lot of times I feel like adults don't know how to identify their emotions because it would have been silenced, right? Oh, yeah. As a child, right? Like if you just think about like how you interact with kids, right? Like I can remember growing up and they'd be like, you need to be quiet. But my feelings are hurt. And it's like, do you want to whoop him because you're crying? It's like, wait a minute, what do you want me to do? Like, you want me to not to cry? You want me to cry? I don't know. I don't want to get a whooping, you know? Like, so it's like, now I'm in a stage in my life, it's like when my kids is upset, I let them. I say, okay, do you need 15 minutes? Do you need time apart? I know that we having this disagreement or this debate, and I can see that your emotions are, you know, all over the place. Right. Do you need that space? And I'm offering that to them, something that I never had, right? Right. So for them to really get, you know, collect their thoughts and be emotional, and they can process that, right? And then we could come back and we could talk, because that's what we do. Because I felt like that's more effective than just telling someone, well, if you're crying, you go get, you know, punished because I'm feeling some type of way, you know? So then when
you
you
get a whooping or something.
Yeah.
Bring out the bell, bring out the slipper being thrown your way.
And it's like, but that's part of being human. Yes. Is to feel, right? And I, you know, as a kid, you don't know how to articulate things, right? So then you grow up into, you know, like try to get into these relationships, right? And you're thinking like, okay, now I'm feeling some type of way, but I don't know what I'm feeling. Right. But guess what? I'm about to talk at this person, right? Because I don't know how to manage and control my emotions, right? So I think a lot of that has something to do with my past relationships, you know? But at the end of the day, it's just me, you know, they have their stuff too, but I also have to take ownership of my own, right? So that's where I take a lot of time to do a lot of self-reflecting and how I want to become better, and how do I, you know, if I feel like I'm emotionally like charged, it's like, okay, well, I know I need to remove myself from that, right? So it's those things of like knowing self is important.
And they'll try to say that if the father or, you know, is not in the home, that damages the kids. But what I've witnessed from my own situation, as long as mom is happy, my daughter's good. Like her seeing me happy makes her feel good. Because a lot of times we think that children, just because two parents are in the household, that things are okay. But they sense the dysfunction. They know that something's not right. And so rather than continue to live in that, I decided to make a choice and a decision. And I think that we can raise children in a good environment if we have a village for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be their birth father, right? Or, like we have a nice little group and of aunties and we support each other's kids and support one another when we need things. And so I just hate the notion that they're saying, oh, the father's not at home, so that's a problem.
But I would like to say this too. I get why they are saying that, and I think it is important to know that, yes, from a male's perspective, it might, add on to the child, right? Like, of how to, engage with other people, like, just as well as we can, right? Like, we have some things that we can, share with our kids. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's all about being healthy, right? You can't just say, oh, well, you just need to be with this person just because, y'all want to make this household to be like a 2-parent house. Like, but we're dysfunction. Like, you want me to operate under that? Like, how? Like, I don't understand what that means, because I think a lot of times with single mothers, the stress, right? Like, people don't talk about the stress, right? Like the stress level and how to manage the stress, right? Some things is out of your control. You don't have no control over that, right? And you separate those things. We can't control what is happening on social media and what they talk about, this narrative about single moms. We don't have no control over that. However, we have control over what we can do as an individual. What we can do. And you learning how to separate what other people can do and what you can do, right? Yeah. Yes. But also in a day, it's like you can voice what you want, and what your needs are. Yes. But I would say, for me, it's if we can just think about what healthy relationships look like and thrive on that, I think it would. This whole notion about like, oh no, you can't be alone, you can't, you need this person, you need that. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm more happier in my life right now, just given the fact that my kids are older and I have more ability to move around, do things that I enjoy doing, right? Yes. So because I know I'm going to be an empty nester soon, so I have to make these transition. So it's a little bit at a time, right? Yeah. So I can go and, go hang out by myself or go hang out with my friends and my kids is all good, like they got this, they got that, but I don't want to feel like I have to be so consumed into my kids' life where I can't find myself when they're gone. It's just like, oh, now I'm stressed. I can't figure out who I am, Yeah. But now I'm taking that time to do that, like as time goes on, because they're going to have their own life. And then some things about, like I talked to my son about, I said, and I always remind him this, and I said, there's going to be moments where you're going to date someone that's going to ask. They're going to ask you or tell you, you need to open up my car door, right? Or you should already know automatically, right? And he's like, why do I need to do all that? And I said, because you did not see that from when I raised you as a single parent. You did not see a man open up my car door. You only see me open up my door. You only see me pump my gas. You only see me do all these things, right? Go to school, get these degrees, all these things. You saw me. Right. The woman that you probably want to be with, she's not going to be like that. And not to say that she's not less than or anything like that, or she's not strong enough. But it's because you saw me do everything. But I had to do those things to make sure y'all had what y'all need and what y'all got right now, right? So I said there's going to be times where you probably going to have to see a therapist to talk about those things that I can't even teach you about, right? Because I'm a woman and I only can speak from a woman's perspective. But there's a lot of things that you're going to have to unlearn. Like, yes, you're going to have to pump our gas. You can't be sitting on the passenger side and you letting your girl pump. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Because another man looking at that and be like, okay, I'm about to take your girl away from you. Yeah, I'm about to take your girl from her. You know what I'm saying? Soldier boy comes in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, steal your girl, So it's like those things that I have to remind him of that. Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I do want to interject for, at least from the male perspective. And I think when it comes to chivalry, I think guys today, a lot of us are confused because it's like, we're glad, like we want equality with women, but I think it's like, man, I can do these chivalrous things, open the car door, you know what I mean, pay for the first date, do all these good things, but then at the same time, they feel like, sometimes their masculinity is being taken away in other aspects in society. And they sometimes feel like, honestly, it's better to be alone than with someone who's not healthy for you.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, man, if the father role, the what he plays in that, like me, for example, growing up, I remember I got blessed with two parents that were there. My mom provided certain things. She was very nourishing to me and very caring, but at the same time, I kind of needed my dad there too, where it's like he provided things, he led things, he did certain things with my mom, with my other siblings that I'm like, okay, so that's what it means to be a father. But yeah, that's very interesting though.
Because he had a healthy example.
But that was a healthy example, yes.
Right. I think a dysfunctional example is worse.
Is worse.
Yeah, so in that instance, I would say I wouldn't want that around.
But if you two had to decide, you guys would choose to be with someone else too and co-parent.
Yeah. I'm all for that. Like when I'm thinking about dating someone, I think about, like, do you already have kids, right? And then they say no, and they be like, I want kids. I'm like, well, I cannot have that. So I wish you well on your journey. And I don't be selfish and be like, oh, no, you got to stay with me or do all the things to try to make him stay. It's like, no, I want you to experience that because I experienced that. Why would I be selfish enough to do that to you? No, go out there and explore that. I'm not the woman for you. Right? We can vibe and chill, whatever the case may be, until, you go, I'm fine with that, But at the same time, like, I prefer a man that already had kids and experienced that and, know what my time means and value my time, right? Because I don't have a lot of time to give, because I got stuff that I'm trying to do. So I'd rather have a man that understands that. And know what that is, Of course, some dudes talk to me when they got no kids, and they be trying to. I'm like, okay, it's not gonna work, whatever, But yeah,
it's nice to have like a healthy male in your life, and even in regards to my daughter and co-parenting with her father, I've extended the olive branch. Like, I want us both to be healthy, but I think I'm no longer going to take on the burden of trying to push the other person to get into therapy. And the sad part about it is my daughter's 13 now, so she sees things that are not right, and she questions things that her father does. And so it's hard for me to kind of be impartial. I try my best to be fair and impartial, but some of the things that happen, it's hard, So, but yeah, I do wish healthy relationships on everybody and co-parenting, even if marriages don't work out. I think having healthy co-parents is good.
Speaking of therapy, I feel like that's a taboo kind of topic in the Black culture, especially. Like, especially in Eritrean and African culture, there's no such thing as, we don't really believe, like, our parents growing up and family, like, depression, anxiety, like, these kind of things, like, yeah, you could feel that way, but it's like kind of what, Jessica, you were saying, of just persevering anyway and going through.
Go to your pastor.
Or go to the pastor,
Yes.
get prayed over or something.
Yeah.
How do we as Black, people and in the Black culture kind of get rid of that kind of taboo and that kind of like, oh, don't do that, you don't need that?
I think it's about doing, right? And someone, meaning if mom goes to therapy and they know that she's going to therapy, then the daughter will want to go. Then the son will want to go, right? So I think it's more of like, how do we dismantle that that whole stigma around obtaining mental health, stuff. Well, because that's the field work that I do, is in that, right? Like, I counsel individuals, and I can see where historically, right, like, we didn't access doctors and things, or say like, oh, we don't want the people in our business, like, no, they can't help us, like, they don't know what it's like, and it's like, oh, well, don't worry about it, well, then I will become that. I will become that, so that way you can come and talk to me.
Wow.
Right. So that's the reason why, like, I'm back in school doing my, my master's in mental health counseling and stuff, because I want to go back into the Black community and talk about those things, right, and help them. And then I have I'll be specialized in addiction, substance use, and stuff like that, because that's where my licensure, that's what I I am right now. And I want them, because they both go together, right? So to deal with individuals who have co-occurring disorders, it's really sad. And I just feel like in our Black community, we don't have no one that we can talk to about these things or understand it. Like if someone say, and then we throw out terms like, oh, you bipolar, because this person got upset. You know, it's like, do you even know what bipolar is? Like, have you ever seen somebody that have bipolar? Like, and you just throwing this out, and you diagnosing people, misdiagnosing them. You know?
I'm actually guilty of that. I'll be honest.
Okay.
You know? I've said that to my homies a few times. You know,
don't do that no more. Okay. Because then that is also creating that stigma.
Yeah.
Around mental health, right? Like if I got bipolar, then nobody's gonna talk to me. Okay, then they're gonna think something's weird, something's funny. Like, you know, it's like when people are having no signs and symptoms of their disorder, sometimes they don't know what they are experiencing because they've never been diagnosed.
Right.
So they use drugs to cope with what they're feeling. Right. So I would want to help the Black community to like not to go to drugs as a sense of coping mechanism, you know, but just go into like, okay, how do you go and talk to someone? How do you reach out to people and try to get the help that you need? Because that is so beneficial for your health, because mental health is part of your overall health. Right. Yeah. So that's why when people come and sit down and talk to me, I'm like, hey, when was the last time you had a yearly exam with your physician, right? Because there might be something that's imbalanced, right? You probably be vitamin deficient, and you need that, and your body is craving that. It's not craving that drug. It's craving some things that your body is depleted of, right? So I think that's important when I assess an individual, I ask those things, you know, like what are your diet is like? When do you go to sleep? How often are you on your screen? How much social media are you? You know, like because that plays a huge factor in the way you feel and in the way you perceive yourself and the world around you.
It's not just putting that bandage on, but really seeing
really
what's the root of this. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, because a lot of it is personal and it's also lack of self-esteem and self-worth, right? And we want to belong. Wow. Somebody told us that we didn't belong for many, many years and decades, right? We know who it was, you know, but we still have that in our psyche that I still want to belong. I want to belong. So we do certain things to put ourselves out there, to want to be connected, and also people to see us and be heard, right? You don't have to be heard by everybody. I'm going to say that. Love yourself first. Honor yourself, you know? And loving yourself is, I think, what people tend to think is like, oh, I need to change this, the outside, the surface part of me. No, it's about diving deep into yourself and saying, like, this is what I'm feeling right now, right? Like, I need a moment. I need this. I need you in my life. I need you to talk to me about this because I need to vent this out, right? Like, actually being vulnerable, right? And taking that step to do that. And that's taboo for a lot of people to be vulnerable. Okay, you don't have to be hard all the time. You know, that's not what what we are like designed to be. You know,
you're talking to me right now, actually. especially again, the topic is single mom specifically, but man, what you're saying is perfectly for me and all the bros, all the guys. Especially men. We're really told to keep that masculine posture, which is good, but again, we're human. Yeah, and we have feelings too. And it's. You can't just hold it in forever.
Because I ask people this, and I'm sorry. I ask individuals who sit down with me and talk, and I said, when was the last time you told somebody you love them? When was the last time you held your parent's hand? When was the last time you gave them a kiss on the cheek? Oh, I never did that before. Okay, well, let's try it. Let's try it over the weekend and see how it made you feel and how the other person felt. They come back and they tell me, they be like, everybody started crying. It was a wonderful experience. It's because we don't take the time to do that, right? And our youth need to know how to do those things when they're young. So it can just be automatic, right? But you're an adult and you're trying to change an adult how to change. What? Wait a minute. No, I never did this. I don't want to do it. This is making me feel comfortable. I don't want to do it, right?
And they back away.
Yeah, and they back away. Yeah. So it's like, what are we teaching our youth? We have to be teaching them right now, and they learning from us, indirectly or directly, right? They learning. So
that's beautiful. Beautiful.
I would touch on something you said, Ernest, was the root. And I think in my perspective, a lot of the root cause of this mental health dysfunction is a lot of us, our voice was taken at a young age. Our innocence was stolen. And in these families that we have, we don't speak and say what has happened to us. And you're at family functions, you're at cookouts, all these things with someone who possibly violated you. And you don't speak it out because you don't feel that the adults around you will respect that or honor that. And then in some cases, they may make you out to be the person that's more wrong than the person who violated you.
Right.
And so I feel like the root cause of it all is secrets. Black people need to start telling secrets. Tell the secrets in the family, okay? Put it all out on the table so that true healing can happen.
Yes.
That even happened to me. I didn't speak my truth until 30 plus years of age. Like, that's not healthy, right? And then even when it was said, it was, it was just like dismissed totally. Thank God I was in therapy and I'm good on that end. But to me, that's the most damaging thing, I think. And we have in the Black community, what's that? What happens in the house? Don't tell our business, all this kind of stuff. And then you have aunties, uncles, all these people that are protecting these individuals that are violating. So how do you expect that youth to go out in the world and protect themselves from other people who will violate them when people in their own family will do it and they're supposed to stomach that, right? Voice gone, taken.
Where does that come from? Is that like a product of our history, potentially?
Of course.
Yeah.
I believe so. I do. Yeah.
Because I mean, even these days, like, when I think, ever since COVID happened, I've been like, okay, whatever issues I have, okay, if I have a fear towards something, let me not just say, okay, I have a fear towards it. Let me, like, actually get to the root of that. Why am I fearful of this?
Right.
Let me take steps. Let me be solution-oriented. Let me go solve this problem, right? I was very fearful to my freshman year, right before COVID, to be on the Black Student Union board. Because in order to be on the board, you have to give a 2-minute presentation for everybody.
Public speaking.
And public speaking was a big fear.
Yeah.
COVID happens, and COVID was kind of a blessing for me because it, as much as I hated being alone and like late night drives by myself, it just made me realize, I was like, man, life is short.
Yes.
What am I fearful for? And then I realized I cared too much what people would think when I'm up there.
Yes. Yes.
And then afterwards, I kind of just went for it and was on the board next year.
Well, that's the beauty of social media. A lot of people talk, there are some negative things with it, but I find the beauty that on TikTok, all these different platforms, people are speaking their voices and telling their stories, and other people are able to connect with them on that. So that's, and that's all around the pandemic and, all those things. So I appreciate you sharing
all those
that.
Zoom sessions
Yes,
and stuff.
yes.
Well, I'm interested in where did you pinpoint where that came from, like far as like being fearful? Did you ever
Of public speaking,
Yeah.
specifically? I think growing up for me, I was, and I love my parents, but growing up I was very, told, do your schoolwork, like a very disciplined type of childhood. And I think outside from that, because I'm from Eritrea, my parents were really protective of making sure that I don't get into trouble. And because of that, I mean, it would be, I'd wait for the school bus picks me up, I don't say a word to anyone, go to school, do my school, don't get into any trouble, come back, pick up my siblings, boom. Like a very ordered, kind of like a closed off to any kind of distractions, which is good to an extent. But because of that, I couldn't do after school activities that much. I mean, maybe if I did a few here, I didn't really do sports because I had younger siblings I had to take care of.
Wow.
And so because I was kind of closed off to most of the opportunities, I realized there was a fear because I've never done it before. And that's when I told myself, like 2019 hit, I was like, I'm about to be in college, no regrets, let's do this. And then boom, the fear comes in. But because once COVID hit, I was like, okay, I don't want to look back and regret.
Wow.
And now I could proudly say, a quarter away from graduating, that there are no regrets. Heck, I would not be doing this.
Okay, that's what I'm
You know what I
saying.
mean?
This is public speaking.
exactly.
It is.
Forget one guest, forget it, but two guests too. That would be
Mm-hmm.
very fearful. So I'll say that's kind of the root. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
I appreciate you,
with us.
Dad.
Yeah,
Ask me
that's
that.
just my counseling stuff coming in.
Yeah. I kind of want to pivot before we kind of close off into the end, but you guys both mentioned that y'all both have kids, which is beautiful. I'm not a parent yet. God willing, hopefully I am in the future. What are some of the pros and cons of having a child?
I would say the beauty is being able to just go through the childbirthing, just all of it. For me, I thought it was a beautiful thing, right? Just being able to see your baby come into the world. The first thing they see is you, you know, and you have this bond. I would say the I ain't gonna say it's a con. I think it's more of like every child have a different personality. It's not how can I say, like, you can't just assume that a child is going to be the same and you can get the same results every time, like with a child. I think no one didn't tell us how to be a parent. We just had to learn how to be a parent with all of the outside factors that come into play, right? When I talk about that, I mean like social media, kids being on, you know, watching TV a lot, like just the screen time alone it impacts our kids. And technology has advanced over the years from when I was a kid to now. It's like time is going by so fast. And I was talking to my son about this last night, and he was like, Mom, like, I can't believe, like, things are just moving so fast. I was like, yeah. I said, because it's technology that is really kind of driving all of this, you know, because we are filling up our time. Because we can fill up our time with our phones. We can fill up our time looking at, you know, TV.
Yeah.
We can fill up our time. We found ways to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because back in the days, we used to just write letters and hopefully you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was our text message in school.
Like, I like you, do yes or no.
Check yes or no. Throw it over there and hope the teacher don't read it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that was what I was used to. And it took forever for, like, the holidays to come around. It was like, when there are breaks, you know, blah, blah, blah. And now it's just like everything's overlapping. You go into the stores, like for, say, during Christmas time, they already got stuff out for Valentine's Day. Well, how is that? And why?
Yeah.
Right? So it's just this influx of this the capitalism that's also driving this, right? Because they know that we want to buy. We know we want to get to that. And we know, you know, so it's like all of this, all these things that also pushes a parent in this other kind of direction of like, oh, I need to let my kids, well, I need to buy these things for my kids because I don't want them to feel like they less than or they don't have what their peers have. Right? So you struggle with that as a parent as well.
Right.
You know, but for me overall, I love to be a parent. I love to be a mom. I love the fact that my kids, you know, in the mornings, I tell them, you know, I hope you have a great day. And as soon as I walk up the stairs, my kids open up the door for me, unlock the door and open up the door for me.
Wow.
I don't have to touch it.
Wow.
They can hear my footsteps and they open up the door for me. And I say, hey, how y'all doing? How was y'all day today? You know, they's like, my day was great. And then other ones be like, so how was your day, mama? You know, it's like that kind of connection that I really, really enjoy and I love about my kids.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, that's beautiful. I'd say the same too. Like, I think one of the joys of being a parent is just seeing like characteristics in yourself, like in your child, and seeing things that they're going through that you remember when you were in middle school or elementary school. And honestly, I enjoy my daughter. Like, we laugh, we kiki, we have a really good time. And I enjoy her being on this journey with me. Because a lot of times, you know, parents are supposed to be authority. And I'm not saying that I'm her friend or anything like that, but I do enjoy the connection that we have. And I think it's a beautiful thing when you can contribute and raise a decent human being in society. Like, I think that's a pro. One of the cons, I will say, with the inflation and everything going on, financial is a big con. Because, like, even with my daughter playing competitive soccer, you would be amazed how much money that I've invested in this child, you know, and that's the bare minimum to get her to get a scholarship and all those things in the future. So I think if you want to give them you want to try to give them as much as you can that you're financially able to, I think finances can be a con.
So kind of like once you become a parent, when you kind of realize why your parents were saying no to McDonald's so many times.
Exactly.
For sure.
Why they always telling me
Yeah.
no? Like, I just want it. You know? But yeah, so I get it now.
yeah.
I find myself sounding like my parents and saying things that they were saying
Most
to
definitely.
my daughter.
It's a full
yeah.
circle moment, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you, ladies. I love to wrap it up with this type of question because I get so many different responses, so many, and this one's going to be a little bit tailored to this podcast, but what advice would y'all give to other single moms today and in general also just younger women on the come up?
I would say for single moms out there, build your community with trusting, loving individuals, right? That's going to accept you and that's going to motivate you too as well, right? So I center myself around people who is like always thriving, doing stuff, and we just always thinking of different plans and to always love yourself. Number one, I don't know, like find your internal peace, whatever that looks like for you in a healthy way, right? Like I go out to the trees, I see nature and I see like how we are in balance as human beings, right? Because we're going against nature calling with certain things, right? So I just look at the dysfunction and the imbalance, and that's what I see around us. But to also be patient, kind, and respectful of yourself, because you are the only one that's going to be seeing your life through the lens of your own eyes. So I would say just be patient and have grace, you know, and that's for single moms and, you know, the younger women, you know, just think about that, right? Like find that space where you can grow, right? And elevate yourself and don't let nobody dictate what your life's supposed to be like. So I would say that.
Powerful. Yeah.
I would say for single moms, I would say have grace for yourself. Your parenting doesn't have to look like what you saw on TV. Like you're not running the Olympics, being the best mom. As long as your kids are happy, healthy, and you know the basics are being done, it's okay, right? It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be glamorous, and you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. I would say to single moms. For the young women coming up, I would say, now don't take offense to this, Aramis. I'm going to say decenter men. And not meaning don't date men or anything like that, but I think a lot of times as young women, we are taught, you know, being grown up in the Disney era, that this man is the all and be all, and that should be your primary focus. And I'm saying, no, you can date, you can do all those things. Think about it like a movie set or something. Let the men be extras, but you are the main character and you have all this stuff going on. And quite naturally, you'll meet a great person along the journey. But I don't think we have to put so much energy and emphasis into the romantic relationships.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's beautiful. No, for real. Shantell, Jessica, thank y'all so much for hopping on the podcast. Do y'all have any last minute things y'all want to throw out? Anything?
No, thank you
Are
so
we
much
good?
for having us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, there y'all have it. We hope y'all enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for more awesome episodes as season 4 rolls on. Till next time, guys. Peace.